All right. Welcome everybody to the class. I'm hoping you are having yourselves a good day, making the most out of it, I hope. And onwards we go, hopefully, to the last and final class that we have. And one of the things that we do want to talk about is the fundamentals of business operations and how operations management is an important step to understand in business. So we want to define a little bit more about the operation management side of things, what it means, how to overdo it, how to overcome it, and eventually make sure that we can define operation management, discuss the role of the operation manager in a manufacturing company and a facility that produces an item, regardless if it's tangible or not. And we're going to describe the decisions and activities of an operation manager in overseeing production process in a company that will give you the end result, and also use some of the items that many individuals who are in operation management use, such as a per chart. Okay, we'll explain what a per chart is, a Gantt chart, and talk about how companies that do manufacture, how they use things like technology, how to use things to deliver goods in an efficient way, in a cost-effective manner, and be able to describe the decisions that are made in planning for the product and making sure we have the delivery process in service of the company, and in identifying the major characteristics that hopefully can distinguish service operations from manufacturing operations, and identify the activities undertaken to manage operation services in an organization. Okay, so we're going to talk about quality control, total quality management, TQM, and how it provides value to the final customer, and also explain how outsourcing provides a certain value to the customer as well. So to start us off, we'll talk about Operation Manager. As you saw last week, we talked about structures and hierarchy, and today we're going to talk about what Operation Managers have, especially when it comes down to the service of things. Okay, we're going to talk about customer service. We're going to talk about who the customers are. We're going to look at materials that they use, information, capital, human resources, the input, and then the transformational period, either from the goods that we get in or the services. There will be a transformational period, and then from natural resources, funds, capital, material, customers, and so forth, we get end results. We get furniture, we get digital items, we get service like airplanes and mobile automobiles, education like we are doing right now, food, and the other items altogether. Okay, so for many companies to compete with an organization, a company must convert resources like material, labor, money, information into goods or services as effectively and efficiently as possible. The upper level of management that directs this transformational process is called an operation management or operation manager. The job of an operation manager, or as we call it, OM, consists of all activities involved in transforming a product idea into a finished goods. As a result, because of the complexity of a company, as we saw, some companies can be very, very complex. Some companies can be very simple. All the activities in an organization, it is very vital and it's very important than ever for our operation manager to ensure due diligence is utilized in the structure operations as well. Okay, so what we do a lot of times in operation management is we take the product and we put it in a supply chain. Okay, everything we do, even in services, we use some form of supply chain. Okay, there has to be a value there. Okay, there has to be a reason you're going to, for example, school. You guys are customers at school. Okay, using the power of your customer service, technology, capital, the tuition you pay for, and you're transforming it into a service. Okay, the service is that you will find a vehicle of some sort to go in and pursue your education. And as a result, because you pursue your education, what you're going to have is you're going to have a situation where you will get a degree. Okay. And the value of the degree is that you can go out there and be qualified for jobs. Okay. Whereas if you don't have, qualification, doesn't mean that you're not going to get the job, but it may mean that many positions are very competitive, and you may have a difficult time finding a position. Okay. Doesn't mean you're out of luck. No. A lot of jobs do include and give you an option, to learn as you go along. Some do not need a degree. Okay. But the process that we do here is we train you, we build you together, and we have the process. Okay. So you guys pay into a tuition. You sit there, you are doing your tuition, you're doing your classes, and the end result here is that you will be able to transform your careers into something. Okay. You want to get something out of it. Okay. It's a supply chain. Okay. So we have to do, even in services, a supply chain that goes from one place to the other. So what does a supply chain mean here? When we get raw materials and shirts, we buy all the tools we get. So we get all the harvested items, the tiles, the dye, the washing and labeling. We transport it, we package it, we put it in the retail, we market it, and then we look at consumers we want to find, and eventually the consumers will use it, get rid of it, and put it back into our system. Okay, so a good example of that is clothes, t-shirts, fabric material. What you will see a lot of times is you're going to see, raw material extraction. So, a t-shirt may cost, for example, $2.75. To manufacture it, you're going to pay $3.45. The process of putting it in. So that means, of course, that, every shirt, you're going to buy the parts from the shirt for $2.75. The cotton, the spanning, the weaving, and so forth, the dyeing, and then you manufacture it for $3.45. So that means, of course, that for, I would say, below $7, you're putting into your supply chain your t-shirt. Okay, and then you're distributing the t-shirt, which will cost you about 50 cents, if I'm not mistaken. I put 50 cents on it. Okay. And what's going to happen is that with that 50 cents, now it's going to cost you less than about $10 to actually distribute it to the final customer. Okay. But then after final sales are done and so forth, you're looking at roughly about 40 $50 to make the item. I know it may seem a lot, but when you come to your realization, in some particular cases, you have to remember here that in this supply chain, everybody needs to make a money. Okay, so after you're selling it to, say, a distributor, the distributor needs to make a cut, and maybe they take $10 per t-shirt. Okay, and then up it up to about maybe $30, and then the final sale is that the retail markup will be about $50. But you have to remember, not everything sells. So there is a situation where some of the t-shirts may sell for only, like, $5. Sorry, let me go back. Will sell for about $30 or so that they can still make a certain profit. Okay, so that they can make $10 or so off a t-shirt. So the idea here, this is a supply chain, and supply chain is known as a process of transforming a product into a finished goods, or a product of a process that will convert raw materials into goods or services as effectively as possible. The value chain identifies how value is added throughout the creation of a final product of goods and services produced, and how operational activities cost represent a proportion of the final sales of the goods or services that needs to be made. Okay. So when we look at operational management, what's going to happen here is that operation managers, they produce the planning, they produce the control of the goods that we saw here, from the raw materials to the final goods, and they want to make sure the quality is the same. Okay. A big job of the operation manager is making sure that decisions involved in the effort to attain operational effectiveness and its company goals is there. The responsibility can be grounded as production planning. So during the production planning, managers determine how goods will be produced, where production will take place, and how manufacturing facilities will be laid out. And usually in the production planning control side, once the production process is underway, managers continually schedule and monitor the activities that will make the process happen. They must solicit and respond to the feedback and the adjustments where it's needed. At that stage, of course, they're going to oversee the purchases of raw materials, the purchases of handling the inventories. And then, of course, we look at quality control. And under quality control, the operation manager is directly involved in the efforts to make sure that goods are produced according to specifications and the qualities of standards that are maintained. Okay. So the idea here is that you want to make the same product the same all the time. Okay. And when you look at a product, one of the most important parts of a product is that the product that you buy, wherever you're going to buy it, is going to be the same. Okay. So, for example, when you buy, a nice loaf of bread, or you buy hamburgers from McDonald's, or you buy a T-shirt, you want to expect the same quality, and that's all you're paying for. Okay. But when the quality is off, then of course the supply chain is off. Okay. And we want to realize why this is occurring, why this is happening. Okay. And there's a lot of reasons why it's happening, and not every reason is always the same, unfortunately. So in many cases, what occurs is that in the planning stage, there is a production planning problem, a control problem that we cannot control, and a quality issue that we want to take care of. So a lot of times, many operation managers, they want to take some consideration in making the product. Okay. So a lot of times the way that companies do strategize in making the product, and how operation management becomes a little bit more exciting, is to make sure that we have four major strategies. Production process, which has a lot of considerations, okay? Production methodology decisions, where we look at product method and the decision thereof. Make to order products, mass production, and mass customization. So in the 20th century, a new concept of producing goods has been introduced. And the first step on planning the process and deciding which type of product process is best for making the goods that your company intends to manufacture is the first one, to make to order. And at one time, the most consumers, such as furniture and clothing, were made by individuals practicing various crafts. Okay, so people were making one-to-one items. Okay, it was very important. Okay, like art, for example, but it was very time consuming. Okay, and many people wanted the same product, but there's only one specific item that you have. And then, of course, you have mass production. And in mass production was that in the 20th century, a new concept occurred where goods have been produced. Mass production, or what we call make to stock strategy, where you push an item into the market. This practice of producing a big amount of goods at a cost very, very low, to price them very large to number of consumers, is usually the methodology we use today. Goods are made now in forecasted in anticipation for future demands based on the demand that's forecasted, and they keep inventory for later sales. Okay, so when you go into a store, they don't just pick flowers for you. They don't pick apples. They don't cut meat for you just for you. Okay, they will produce it in advance, and you will go into the store, and the result is that you will buy the item from the customer. Okay, so the idea of mass customization is that there is at least one huge big disadvantage here to mass production, and mass customization now allows us to do a lot more. And mass customization means that at least one big disadvantage to mass production is customers, as an old advertising slogan may put, you can't have it their way, okay? And every customer wants something different, okay? You can't win, okay? They have to accept that there is some form of standardized products as they come off the assembly line. Increasingly, however, Customers are looking for products that are designed to accommodate their taste and their needs and their buds, but they can still be sought at a reasonable price. Okay. So basically, it means mass customization is like production methodology where to meet the demand of these consumers, many companies have turned to an approach called mass customization that combines the advantages of customized products with mass production. So what this means is that we live in a society right now where we at let's say 8 or 9 in the morning will go into a store that just opened and everything there will be available for us. Okay. But even in today's day and age, we can actually customize our goods. Okay. So for example, when you go into say McDonald's will mass customize your item in a way. Okay, very short way. When you look at, McDonald's menu has maybe about 16 to 20 different options. And when you look at it, you have basically about four different varieties. Okay, you have the beef burger, the chicken burger, you have the veggie, okay, and then you have the fish. And you can mix and match it, but there's a limit. Okay. So if you want to mass customize, for example, a McDonald's meal, and then you tell me, well, I also want at the same time, I also would like, a uh, a specific item that's available, that will also be a problem. Okay. So when we talk about managing the production side of things, a lot of times mass customization is very, very difficult. What happens if a customer approaches you and then tells you, well, you know what, I really, really want maybe, I don't know, spaghetti instead of French fries. That's a problem, okay? We simply do not have it. And mass customization can be really, really difficult, okay? Especially when sizes, they want a super small size or mega size. It will be very, very difficult to do. So in customization, there is a limit, okay, and we cannot cater to everybody, okay? Everybody has their own DNA, everybody has their own style, and we simply cannot do what they ask us for, okay? So what happens here in production process is we have to manage the production process, and to do so, we have to purchase and decide who will be our suppliers, who will be our purchasers. So we look at procurement items, inventory control, just in time. We want to make sure that we are going to have the just-in-time procurement, inventory control items, items that are going to be there based on the production process, on the process of procurement, inventory control, and beyond. So this process of acquiring the materials and services to be used in production is called purchasing or procurement. So a lot of times, in order for us to do what we need to do, regardless of what we're doing, we need some form of purchasing. We need to purchase something. Okay. Even in the most, I would say the most extreme ways where there's a pure service, we need some form of purchasing. Okay. Take, for example, education. In education, all you have to do is sit in my class and do the lecture. That's it. That's all we do. All right. But when you look at it in reality, there's a lot more to it. Okay. You just don't sit there and purchase service of education. There is more to it. Okay. And when we talk about more to it, we also have to understand that there is a process that we have to go through. Okay. The process that we have to follow the syllabus, the process that you guys are going to get marked, the process that we use a LMS system, learning management system, which is eCentennial. Another process that we use is, of course, we use the power of the internet, okay? And we need to purchase the internet. We need licenses. I need to get licenses, okay? I need to get the books and the publisher's requirements. I need to do a lot of things, okay? And it's not a very simple task of getting from one side to the other and saying we're done. We need to do more, okay? So when we manage the production process, we need to buy the right items. We need inventory controls, and we need to create the items when they're ready. Okay, we cannot just randomly decide we're gonna create the items. Okay, I cannot just come to class and say, randomly going to teach you something irrelevant where it doesn't need a market. Okay. That means a lot of people will not join the class, and it might be a little difficult to actually permit that. So, how do operation managers perform this amazing task that we call managing the production process? Well, they use something called the MRP, which is material requirement planning. And in order to organize their daily task and their day-to-day process, they use something called the Gantt chart. Okay, a Gantt chart, it was named after Henry Gantt. Henry Gantt was a World War One officer in the theater of war, the First World War, and they use a graph tool to help operation managers determine the status of the operation, where it is right now, where we're going, how long it's going to take us, what is already done, what is not, and how do we get to the final status. So for the complexity of some of the operation management controls, some of these Gantt charts may only give us days or hours, but we need seconds by seconds, okay? And we have something with operation management called the PERT chart. PERT chart is program evaluation and review techniques. That is designed as a diagram of the activities required to produce the goods, specify the time required to perform each activity. And that process, of course, is that it's organized as an activity and efficiency of the consequence. Okay, but at the reality here, it also identifies a critical path and a sequence to make sure that the activities will entail a great amount of time. Okay, so what happens here is that we look for an MRP system, and that MRP system will give us a bit more information on where our chart is and what we want to do. So we have like a step-by-step process, and usually on a per chart, what you have is you have a critical path, and a critical path says that in order to cut fur, stuff and sew the fur, and then dress the fur, this yellow line is the critical path that opens you up to packaging and shipping it, but you have to complement it. So you have to cut, you have to accessorize, you have to sew, you have to embody it, and you have to make sure that it exists for you. And to do so, you have to make sure that this will be done. And if this will be done, the goal here is that you have a good system, and it's a controllable system, so that if something goes wrong, you know where to track it, both on a Gantt chart and in a PERT chart as well. Okay. All right, folks. So the time right now is break time. Whatever the break time is, you're more than welcome to take a break. What I would like you guys to do is to take a little bit of a break and to make sure that you will be hopefully back in time for the next half of the class. So what I'm going to do is allow you to take a break, and hopefully when you do take a break, be able to make sure that you will, hopefully come back, and eventually you will make the most out of it. Okay. All right. So be back, guys. I'll see you guys in a bit. Have yourselves a great break, and we will be back in a couple of minutes. Take care and see you soon. All right. So welcome back to our class. We're going to talk a little bit about technologies that are used in the process as well. And one of the things that we have to remember here is that there's a lot of technology that we use these days, especially with computers. Okay. One of the things that we use is something called CAD, computer aided design, and it enables people like, producers and so forth, engineers, to use and test the product digitally and to see if it works, and do it on a computer. Okay, so there's a CAD software, and it worked out design problems before moving to prototype stage to have a kind of aligning on it and to see exactly where it works. Also, a good part of CAD is that The goods are then used later on to be able to apply it in the next stage of the computer design of working with other organizations. So the manufacturer, distributor, and the retailer can all contribute. Then, of course, you have CAM. CAM is computer-aided manufacturing, another software that determines the steps needed to produce components and instruct machines to do the work. So now you take it and you see exactly what the process of making it done. And of course, last but not least, integrated manufacturing by automation integration. All the company's operations, you can use computer integrated manufactured, or we call it KIM or SIM system that have taken the integration of computer-aided design and manufacturing to another steps, okay? And are in fact revolutionizing the production process, okay? So a lot of times SIM systems expand the capabilities of CAD or CAM, and definitely would want to make sure that this will be a plan to make a happening, okay? Now, when we look at operation management, a lot of times when we talk about operation management, we talk from a supply chain standpoint. And when we talk about supply chain standpoint, another important part to look at is to make sure that within supply chain, we want to make sure that eventually we make a product. But when we make a product, it's tangible. We can see it, smell it, touch it, feel it, eat it, consume it, do something with it. But a lot of times there's the other side of intangible products. Now, intangible products are even worse because a lot of times everybody will have different outputs. Okay. Take, for example, school. And a lot of times, different marks for different students. Why is that happening? Well, it happens a lot of times because the performance is different. Everybody's desire is different. Okay. A lot of times I get back reports and we want to make sure that a service is going to be in the best. So I have to meet a certain criteria. And if I don't meet that criteria, it could be a huge problem. So when we look at minimizing shipping costs, many managers often want to locate plants close to suppliers, customers, or both. And generally speaking, we want to locate in areas with ample numbers of skilled workers. They naturally prefer the locations and where they are and the families that are enjoying it. They want locations where costs for resources and other expenses are very, very similar. So land, labor, construction, utilities, and taxes are relatively low. They also look for favorable business climates where the business climate might be a little bit more attractive. So they want to make sure that after selecting the best production process, operation managers have to decide where the goods will be manufactured, how large the manufacturing facility is, and what needs to be laid out. So they want to look for locations that are favorable, good conditions, good site locations, good layouts, good local governments incentives, tax breaks and so forth to do business in their locales. And again, an example of that is a zone and area in which incentives are used to attract investments for a private company. So in the service sector, most businesses must design their facilities with customers in mind, and they must accommodate the needs of their customers while keeping costs very low as possible. So like forecasting capacity, planning is difficult. Unfortunately, failing to balance capacity and projected demands can be seriously detrimental to your bottom line. And if you set capacity too low and also produce less than you should, you won't be able to meet the demands, and then you'll lose a lot on sales and customers. So if you set capacity way too high and turn out more units than you should, you'll waste resources and inflate operational cost. Okay. The idea here is that managing service is about more than efficiency or services. It's about finding the balance between profitability, innovation, customer service, satisfaction, and associate satisfaction with the product as well. Sometimes we call it the balance scorecard. And a lot of times when you look at operational planning, you look at the process that you're doing and making sure that you have the right facilities, you have the right size, that you don't need to be able to expand way too fast. You have the right site selection. You pick the right plan because you cannot walk away from it, and the capacity planning so that you can keep things at a go. Okay. Now, the idea here is that regardless of service providers for operation management or not, managing operation is an important task for operation managers as a whole. And a lot of times it's all about scheduling, making sure that you can follow the schedule, you can control the day in, day out operation. So when you think about it, you're opening the lights, get it, go opening the lights, and definitely you are making sure that the right inventory control is going to be there. Okay. The idea is that if you produce 100 units every single day, if you were to expand, you want to make sure that the 101 unit is going to be the same. It's very complex. Okay. You can clearly see it that sometimes when you go somewhere, you don't get the same quality, and that could be a problem. But other times when you do get that problem, you want to make sure that you are having a good system overall and something that you can look forward to. Okay. So scheduling means that you want to optimize your capacity. You want to make sure that you have the right products, and you want to make sure when it comes down to inventory control, you're keeping levels. You keeping levels too high cost money while running out of inventory cost sales. Okay. So when you think about it, the balance that is very, very strategic in operation management is that if you have too many products lying around and no sales, they take space. And when they take space, they cost money. Okay. And that can cost you a lot in the long term. Vice versa, the other side here is that when you look at the other perspective, there's another perspective to go in, especially when you look at capacity and scheduling. And another important aspect to look at is, of course, we have to remind ourselves that whenever we look at a product, one of the major aspects here is to make sure that if we're out of product, a customer will replace us, a customer will go somewhere else, and that may be a problem. Okay, so we cannot win here. Okay, we have to have a balance. So part of balance is part of the quality. And yes, quality means that you need to be on top of your game. But another important part here is producing good for quality. So total quality management, customer satisfaction, employee involvement, and continuous improvements. And a lot of times the major purpose of a business is to generate profit. Through customer satisfaction. And it is a responsibility of every employee involved in its design, production, and even shipping to go in. A lot of times, improvements can also almost always be made clear to increase efficiency, reduce costs, and improve customer service, as well as satisfaction. Okay, so everyone in the organization is constantly on the lookout for ways to do things better. Okay, but when they cannot make things better, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of options here, what many companies will do is unfortunately they would outsource, meaning that they're going to outsource some form of their company. Okay. And even in many manufacturing companies, they outsource a lot of things. They don't manufacture parts, so they give it to another company. And then they'll give the other company sometimes a way to put the items together. And all you have to do is plug it in. Okay. So when, for example, when we talk about, a car, okay, car has like hundreds, if not thousands of parts that go in. But what they do is they break apart the car into a couple of sections. And then what they'll do is that they'll have suppliers giving to you and giving to the manufacturer. But these suppliers will have a suppliers, and then the suppliers of the suppliers. So you'll have the parts, then you have the supplier putting it together, then you have the supplier distributing that into the manufacturer, let's say Ford or Chrysler, and then they would put together. So, for example, when you look at a radio, okay, the radio will be put together, and based on CAD, they will communicate on it and make sure that they can manufacture exactly to their needs and specifications. And once they do that, they only have to plug it in, bolt it in, and you're good to go. Okay, and that's the idea of many items, and a lot of times we outsource. But even in service, we outsource as well. Okay, when you're a distributor, you may outsource your workers, you may outsource your shipping, you may outsource a lot of things. Even myself, I am an educator. I outsource a lot of things as well. Okay, I outsource our, education. I outsource our ability to do work. I outsource so many different things. And the idea behind it is that I want to make sure that you guys could definitely have a good idea, a good head on your shoulders to make sure there is going to be a important part on what you would like to do. Okay. So a lot of times, what we are looking for is to make sure that we are hopefully going to be on the same game, on the same path, on the same prowler, and make sure that based on those ideas, there's going to be a simple situation that we can outsource. So when you think about, myself, I cannot produce a computer. Okay, so I need a computer. I do not manufacture books. Okay, so a lot of times I get books by the book publishing company. Okay, I need licenses, so I have to go to another organization. I need the internet, so I have to talk to Rogers. I need, you know, so many small items that are just not available for me. Okay. And even Centennial, I'm outsourced by Centennial. They take me and they use me as a service. So that also comes into play. So all these things are very, very important. And one thing that we look for in doing is to make sure that we could do it as easy as possible. Okay. All right. So guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a small little discussion item to complete for this week. We're going to talk about reflections, and we're going to talk a little bit about what you learned throughout the semester. Okay, so I will leave it for you guys on hand. Please make sure to complete it, get it to me, and you'll be good to go. All right. And a lot of times, please make sure to attend next class because it's going to be very important. I do realize that today it is Easter Monday. Okay, still a holiday. I'll respect it. And I know many of my students are practicing the religion, and I do still recognize it. So I'm going to leave this particular slides in our class and hopefully give you a chance to oversee it later on. Okay. So what I'm going to do is in week 11, sorry, I'm saying week 14, I'm going to give you guys the option to do a reflection. Okay, just a one page to tell me what you have taken away from the class, what you enjoyed, what you did not enjoy in the class. Let me know about it. I want to hear everything, the rumors, okay? And I'll give you a mark for it on participation. And the plan is that for next week, when we are back in class, next week is going to be different. So we're in week 15. Week 15, what we're going to do is we're going to have a back-to-back class, as you guys have. On Monday, I will open up test number 1 in class next week. And on Thursday, it will be test number 2. Okay, so please make sure to be in class to complete it. No excuse, no ifs, hows, or buts. Make sure you're prepared as you will only have one try, and I'll give you the class to finish it. So the first half, I'm going to give you the first half of the test. Your goal is to complete it, get it to me as soon as possible, and then the other half will be ready for you as well. Okay, so that's the game plan. Okay, please make sure to do it for me, and I will give you more information next class, or next class is on Wednesday. Please make sure to be prepared for it, and we will be ready to go. Okay. So yourselves have a good one. Make the most of it. I wish you guys all the best. Thank you so much for attending the class. Thank you so much for being a part of the class. I wish you all the best. And on Wednesday will be our final class. We'll review a lot of things. I'll give you time to do your reflections, and we'll be done our semester. Okay? Can you imagine? one semester of you and I, we are done and good to go. Okay. So please, guys, let me know, and I will be more than happy to assess what is being met. Okay. All right. Thank you.